Ba-bum. Hey, we are in the book of Proverbs today, and we're going to be starting. I'm going to lower this again. I'm never going to get this right. There we go. I'm going to start in verse 11. Proverbs 27:11. My son, be wise and make my heart glad, that I may answer him who reproaches me. There's someone reproaching him, but he's telling his son to be wise and make him glad. And I believe this is simply just the father desiring for his son to have wisdom and to make wise choices, so it doesn't make the dad look bad. There's a reality in that, right? I mean, I think we all know what it's like for our children to embarrass us because it's kind of shocking their behavior sometimes. But you know what? When the kids are just nailing it, doesn't it make us proud? Looks good. It looks good when our children are walking in righteousness. It looks good when our kids make good choices. And, you know, our kids are kids. They're their own, individually sovereign little beings that they get to, they have to choose their own path and make their own decisions. But obviously it's also a product of parenting. Very much so. Verse 12, a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. The simple pass on and are punished. This is something that I quoted from the New Living Translation when we did our election sermon not very long ago. And the idea here is a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. Well, the idea is that he prepares. When you see evil ahead, you prepare for it and you make wise preparations. And we were just talking about how if you see the direction that the nation is going and you see the evil, well, prepare for it. Now, I'm not talking about becoming a prepper. I'm talking about go out there and vote. And vote for someone who's actually going to have a chance of winning. And vote for someone who has a track record of get this, not being righteous, but supporting righteous policies, appointing righteous judges. That's the idea. The upcoming election is not a popularity contest, or it ought not be a popularity contest. It's about getting the most godly policies passed in our government. Verse 13, take the garment of him who is surety for a stranger and hold it in pledge when he is surety for a seductress. So, interesting, and I'm assuming this is this outer garment. You're not supposed to take the outer garment of someone. That's against the law. But someone who's surety for a stranger, that's like a co-signer on a loan for someone they don't even know. And it's like, you can't trust that person with valuable things. Or again, surety for a seductress. So it's really the idea, though, of withholding from someone whom you know is going to go and be unwise with those things. And so one way we actually could look at this would be simply, I think there's a wrestling that goes on in the hearts of many Christians when they don't know how to handle all of the commands of us being generous and giving to the needy, but at the same time feeling convicted because they sometimes feel like those people, maybe they're not going to use the money in a wise and godly way. Well, this is a verse that's really touching on that. The idea is actually withholding from someone who's going to go and be foolish with it. Someone who's going to be surety for a stranger or surety for a seductress. And that's the idea, is that they're going to take the money and be unwise with it. I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to go like, I think that's the right way I want it to go. Huh? I'm almost balanced. Either way. So there we go. We got that going on. Next verse. We're only not even 5 minutes in. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it will be counted as a curse to him. All I can ever think about when I read this verse is Pastor Chuck Smith, and when he was teaching the 2000 series through the Psalms, and he mentioned in Bible college, someone who would get up in the morning really early and sing hymns and stuff and just bless the Lord, and just this idea of he's waking up early to do blessings, but you're waking other people up. And so I don't know, it's almost more of a funny thing, but I think let's maybe take it in the serious sense. You're blessing your friend, but with a loud voice rising early. There's obviously something going on here. Oh, but I'm here to bless you. There's obviously a weird motive behind this, and it's not going to be counted as a blessing. And sometimes people say they're doing things for different reasons, like, oh, well, I want to know about it so I can pray for them. It's like, well, no, you're just hungry for gossip. Doesn't matter what you call it. Well, I'm just blessing you. You're just trying to annoy me in the early morning hours. Verses 15 and 16. A continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. Whoever restrains her restrains the wind and grasps oil with his right hand. But even the winds and the waves obey Jesus. That's some of the most encouraging marital advice you can hear. That most of these proverbs, right? Although they could be masculine, feminine, to a son, to a daughter, but everything always works in the flip, right? It's not like God has advice just for men that don't apply to women. Even the verses that are specifically on how to be a wife and how to be a husband, there's lessons to be learned and gleaned from the opposite sex in those verses. And so, it's true. People don't want to be around a contentious person. And it's actually like this idea of the dripping. It's not so much that it's like this, injurious, action that just takes you out with one hit. It's like the Chinese water torture of drip, 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 drip. And the reality is what do you do about it when your spouse has ungodly behavior? See, that's general. When your spouse has behavior that's unbecoming of a Christian, if you can restrain that person, you can restrain the wind. And that's the idea. No one can restrain the wind. You're going to go out there and stand in the way on a windy day to make the wind die down. It's just not going to work. But as the disciples said, even the wind and the seas obey Christ. Everything can be handled by Jesus. Everything given to him, he can handle. And so maybe it's not even a relationship. It could be anything. The idea here in the poetry, the poetic words, was a situation that cannot be handled. Restraining the wind, grasping oil with your hand, right? The idea is just, can you go into a vat of oil and grasp it like with your fist? You can't pick up oil like that. You can't stop the wind. There are things in your lives that you cannot control, but Jesus can. You cannot change it, but Jesus can. And even if he doesn't change it, it doesn't mean it's outside of his power. And so there's just a great idea of surrender here that again, this is a proverb that was by itself making a point, but when we think of it in light of the New Testament and in light of that story where Jesus was asleep in the back of the boat and the disciples asked him, don't you care that we're perishing? And that's how we sometimes feel. Maybe it's because of a difficult situation with a spouse. Maybe it's because of some other situation like an illness or a different kind of roommate, living with your kids, living with your mom. But the idea is he does care. And while you can't do anything about this situation, he can. And we cannot expect him to make the changes we desire to be made, but we can trust that he has it under control. And so we need to just rest in that, and we need to have peace in that, and just believe that God has everything under control. It's all in his hands. Even the wind, it obeys. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow morning at the normal time of 7 a.m. Adios.